Eyes were gleaming with excitement as everyone eagerly awaited the onset of the new year. Friends Sarah, Jake, and Emma decided to call an Uber as they returned from a New Year's Eve party, navigating the crowded streets of the city. The cold air felt even sharper under the influence of their inebriation. Within minutes, an Uber arrived, and the young ones hopped in. The driver was an elderly man, sitting silently in the front seat. The atmosphere inside the car took on a mysterious tone, as if time had frozen in a peculiar place. Before the journey began, the driver spoke with a faint smile. "Welcome, young ones. I'd be delighted to take you somewhere." Sarah, Jake, and Emma exchanged smiles, engaging in conversation without deciding on a destination. However, the atmosphere inside the car grew increasingly peculiar. The radio started emitting an empty frequency, and despite the New Year's decorations, the streets outside were empty and deserted. After a while, the driver spoke. "I'm taking you to a very special place, young ones, but understanding its secrets may not be easy." The young ones exchanged puzzled glances. Without any directions, the driver suddenly turned onto an empty street. Worried, Sarah asked, "Where are we going here?" The driver replied, "This is on the thin line between life and death, young ones. Get ready to unravel the secrets." The car came to a halt in front of an old abandoned mansion. The driver mysteriously disappeared, leaving the young ones bewildered. In the eerie silence, they opened the mansion's door and stepped inside. As they wandered through the mansion, the young ones stumbled upon traces of a murder that occurred there in the past. Secret passages, mysterious symbols, and bloodstains shocked them. Suddenly, strange sounds echoed within the mansion. Was it a ghost or the spirits of the murder victims? As the night progressed, the young ones tried to unravel the truths and mysteries of the mansion. However, mysterious obstacles at every step prevented them from reaching the truth behind the murder. In the end, they reached a hidden room in the mansion's basement. Upon exploring the room, they witnessed the gruesome details of a horrendous murder committed by the mansion's owner years ago. The secrets behind the murder led the young ones into a maze of meanings, forcing them to confront the truth. With the first light of morning, the young ones exited the mansion, and the Uber driver returned. However, the impact of the night's events still lingered. For them, that night was not just the beginning of a new year, but also a moment to confront the dark secrets behind the curtain of the past. And the traces of that night would forever remain in their lives. At midnight, on New Year's Eve, the cold weather created a terrible silence outside. While the stars were shining in the sky, only the chilling howl of the wind accompanied the quiet streets of the village. Everyone was expected to enter the new year happily at home. Someone was about to break this silence. Strange things begin. While waiting for midnight, the sleepless children of the village began to sense that something was wrong. Suddenly, somewhere in the distance, a strange light began to shine. When they looked out of the window to see the source of the light, they noticed a strange figure moving somewhere in the forest. As everyone looked at each other, someone said, "Maybe our dad has a plan to play tricks on us this Christmas." But one of them said, "Then why is this light so strange?" asked. Shadow and silence. As the shadow slowly approached, the lights on the streets of the village were going out one by one. Everyone's heart started beating fast. The light where the shadow came from suddenly disappeared, and the village was plunged into darkness. At that moment, the village was filled with the voices of crying children, and everyone started running towards their homes. However, when they tried to lock the doors, a bright light appeared above their doors, and they all opened at the same time. The terrible truth. When the doors opened, there was no one outside. Just a few steps away, deep in the forest, a terrible laughter was heard. People started screaming and running into the dark forest. However, the people lost in the forest did not return. By morning, only a few people remained in the village. What remains? Those who remained in the village hugged each other after the terrible events that happened that night. After that day, commemorative event is held to remember that terrible night. However, it was impossible to forget that night. Every New Year's Eve, the village people had to remember the ghosts of that terrible night. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you want anything else, please let me know. This is what happens to those who don't subscribe or like.